Hi guys, John here, Mr. Forex Fire. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the stream. We're going to be going over today on the US30 again. This is only my second day on trying to trade this pair using the concept that we have all been known to come to get used to, which is the Forex Fire 1 minute scalp. The benefit of using the technique that I do with this is amazing. To be fair, it simply condenses your scalping time and the allowance that you have on the chart. I've found the optimum time to allow yourself to trade is in a 2-hour block. Within a 2-hour block on a currency pair, we have found that we can get anywhere between 0 to maybe 2 trades in that 2-hour block, 3 if we're lucky, but generally it's just the 1 or 2. We tried US30 for the first time yesterday. We had 3 trades in that 2 hours. It's a lot more volatile. There's a lot more breakouts and breaker structures within that. I found yesterday the average sort of risk to reward was of 1 to 2, in fairness. We started off well with a 2% and then we hit a couple of losses. But again, this is brand new to me. For me, this is me learning the price action, the price movement of the US30, to be honest. And again, I don't hide behind anything. What I do is for self-development for myself as well. But at the same time, I'm showing you live what I'm going through and the journey and the pains and the struggle that I do on a day-to-day basis. And then hopefully the structure and the way that I mark things up will resonate with you and you can actually apply these techniques to your daily trading habits and things like that. So again, it's always about being visual, because the more visual you are marking your charts, when you get price action moving, you can then look back on what you've marked up on the previous side to the left and then see where something counteracts. Okay, so we're going to set it up the day. That's the prep talk for the day, and we're going to be going over to the chart in the US30. This is what was happening yesterday. I'm just going to delete all that off for now. We're starting on a brand new chart. Let's go straight down to the 1 minute. And again, we're going to set our goalposts, and we do that simply by clicking on here. We're going to be doing 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock. 1 p.m. start. There's the goalpost 1, and then obviously we'll have the goalpost there, and I'll just pause and come back to recording as things happen. Finish. Okay, let's get my Geordie face a bit bigger on there. So what we're doing is, again, we've got our goalpost set. We're now going to be doing the path. And again, the path is looking for the more prominent swing points on the 1 minute time frame. But as you move up a time frame, the sort of what is more prominent on the swings becomes more fanned out, if that makes sense. And I'll show you. I always go over this. This for me is very, very imperative to do, because when it gets, I mean, you just have to see yesterday's session, because we looked at an area yesterday after doing the analysis afterwards of the rundown of play. We found an area that could have given us a 1 to 12. Looks good in hindsight, but again, if we'd caught that and trained our eye, which I should have known better, I could have caught that trade pretty well, to be fair. But again, that's why we draw these out and then we look at the end of the session and have a conclusion at the end. Okay, so we're going to start off from the high point. And like I say, we'll just do the more prominent areas, the highs to lows. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect. It's just where price has shown its hand. And then we go up to the 15 minute and see how we've marked up from there. Okay. So we'll just do that. And then we've got a bit of a downward movement on towards the end here. Right, so as you can see, that's price, and in between price is always fractal. What we have, just to give you a rundown, is we have zones. Okay, so let's say as you come down, you've got a retracement here. Okay, so that's a retracement. So prices come down, prices retraced up. Now, what generally happens is price, when it breaks out of a zone, it's going to respect around about 50% unless it smashes through. We've come down, we've smashed through price on the retracement here. So as it's come down, it's respecting within the zonal area. Okay, so that's respecting, it's come up, it's come down, it's respecting, it's stepping down within the zone. So this is going to do one or two things at the moment. It's either going to come down to respect that area there, or it's going to come even further down and it's going to sort of hit this area here. Okay, so that's just a little look on that at the moment. However, as you go up a couple of time frames to the 15-minute, you'll see with price, we've got that more or less spot on the higher time frame stuff. So our zones are set. What I would possibly do is work this from here. Let's just be a bit more visual. We've got the high. We've got lower, lower high. And again, I mean, I can't stress this enough. This is one of the most important things you'll do, because when you look back, and it's always advisable to look back on the sessions that you do, you're going to be able to see structure clear from these areas. So again, I'm going to mark that there because it's a consolidated area. Okay, and then I'm just going to start off a new area. Just going to have that as a high. Okay. We've got a bit of a trend break here. Let's get this marked up. And then we've got another trend break. Let's have a look. We don't quite have a low here. So again, we're coming up to here. We've got a low point. High point. In fact, that's a higher high. Okay. Got a higher low. In fact, that's broke structure from there. High, high. Higher low. And then you get the drift. What we've got here is basically lower lows all the way down on here. And then at the end, we've got lower highs. Okay, so I'm just going to mark that there. So I know basically we've got a channel coming down. If we stretch this out again, we broke out. See where we broke out on here? Come in 50%. And then it's took off again. It's come down. It's come back in, the retrace. It's tried to pull back through the zone, hasn't quite made it. It's gone out. It's come back into retrace, back in again. And you just see how these retraced areas from the previous trend is very important. We're just going to leave that there. I'm going to pause the video. We'll be back just after 1 o'clock for the start of the session, and then we'll see where we are from a swing point entity, and then we'll see where we need to see the break of structure before we get our first trade in play. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and we'll be back in the next 10-15 minutes. See you in a bit. Hi guys, welcome back to the video here. what we've got is we've determined our structure points, okay, and we've got the retracements within here. Looks a hot mess at the moment, but it's something we can look at and analyze as the pattern goes through. We are now going to be hitting 1 o'clock start time. We're on 1 o'clock, so now we're open. Now, what we're waiting for, as I normally say, we identify the previous swing. So we are waiting for price to come down, push out, okay, or we are waiting for price to come up and go to the top side, okay. Only one or the other will do. When we get that, we then look at the order block on the top side or the bottom side, and then we'll take it from there. So at the moment, that's what we're waiting on. That's what we're anticipating. We'll be back in a second once we get that breaker structure of liquidity on the higher side or the breaker structure on the lower side. Looking back on the previous swings, it looks like we're coming down in a downward channel. So if we continue down, which is going to be the better option in my opinion, it's going to be a continuation in trend. However, if this continues to move up, the problem we've got with that is it's a little bit of a change of direction. But what we've got is we've got a big holding structure point from there, to be fair. So it might be a bit more difficult to be able to trade from. But this is a learning curve for me, just as it is for you. Again, I don't hide behind anything. If I fall flat on my face, it's just something that I can look back on and see where things went wrong. What you need to understand is as well, going on this, the US30 is a lot more volatile than what any other pair that I would generally trade is. However, the general concept of the fire scalper remains the same on anything, whether it's stocks, shares, indices, anything on the chart. You have a swing point area, which creates a range. You get a breaker structure. When it comes back in that range, price will always respect premium price, discount price, and bargain price areas within that range. And we always look for the bottom end bargain price. We get a better refined entry, but that comes with its own peril with regards to it can be easily stopped out a lot more, but you get a better risk to reward in total. With that in mind, this is where risk management comes into play. Generally, for the purposes of what I do these videos for, I do them at 1%. I would never risk 1% per trade. I would generally, on a live account, only risk maybe a 0.20%, so a 0.2% or a 0.3% per trade. That's the magical number I found, because within that time frame of 2 hours, okay, we are generally looking on a Forex pair, 1 or 2 trades. However, because of the volatility of the market of the US30, you generally get more movements. So we possibly, if we go on yesterday's sort of markups, we might get 3 trades or more on this as well. Just depends on the volatility of the movement, okay? So we're going to pause the video. We'll be back in a moment once we get a breaker structure of the previous swing play, okay? And this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. And it's just, the reason I do these videos is just so if you're following along, you may be able to get accustomed to what I do and be able to put this into practice yourself on a time that suits you, on a pair that suits you. And when you're doing this, I do urge you to try and stick with the same pair, because you'll get used to the movement of that pair. Like for me, it's been Euro USD. I did a video which you'll be able to find on my YouTube channel anywhere. It's a playlist. Over the course of 5, 6 weeks, I think it was, I grew an account by 40% growth. That's fantastic. That's fantastic stuff. So we'll pause the video. We'll be back in a second once we get a breaker structure. For me, I would prefer a breaker structure on the downside. It gives me this continuation in trend. However, when you look at the bigger range, again, you've got intermediary price between the red path. We did have a bit of an upward more turn on this swing here. So when you look at that, in essence, from a bigger range, okay, forget about this bit, this low to this high, it's only come back into play into just under 50%. If this comes down and breaks out of here, again, it's just a change of direction, that's all. But we'll see where we are in the next 10, 15 minutes, see where the breaker play is, and then we'll do a chart markup with regards to an entry. Okay, guys? So again, take notes if you want. If you get that light bulb moment, or you're enjoying what you're seeing and you think, yeah, that's resonated with you, timestamp the video on the time frame that I've got, maybe a few minutes. And if something comes to mind where you are understanding it a little bit better, whether it's order blocks, imbalance, or anything else that I mentioned, you've got something to go back onto. Okay, so we'll be back in a moment. Hi guys, so we've just getting a little peek out of this previous high, the range. Again, it's a wick, it's a breaker, liquidity breaker structure. So I'd possibly be looking at something along the lines of that as the order block. I'm going to try a different approach today. Okay, so just go down to order block. I'm just going to look at a couple of things. Long position. There's a 1 to 2.29. Okay, so we've had, let's just mark everything up just to be visual. Again, we've had the breaker structure, and then we can look back on these if they play out, or we can look back on these if they don't. So we're just going to lengthen that a bit more because we haven't got a player back into play at the moment. So we've got a 1 to 2.5, a 1 to just over 2.5. Let's bring that in. We'll just do it to there. So at the moment, liquidity resides on the top end. So liquidity is going to reside on that top end there. That's where price is. It's broke above that at the moment. So again, just going to pull that there and pull this up. So nearly a 1 to 3 now. And we can get rid of that. So now, as you can see, this was the range. Okay. Take your attention to there. Take your attention to there. As we had a pullback, we've had some consolidation just about the middle. Okay, this is our range of our worker player. Breaker structure was on the top side. So now we're waiting for price to come back in to sort of mitigate from this order block. This is the bargain price. It may bounce from this, or it may bounce from this, or it could even bounce from that there. But again, we're just looking for the best price available to us with the best return. And on that preference, that would be it down on the bottom. And we're just waiting for price to come back down. I'll pause the video. We'll be back in a moment and see what's happened during the field of play. Okay. There we are, guys. So as you can see, nothing to hide. It's come down and it's spiked through the SL. So again, this is all about a learning curve for me. So I'm pleased I'm doing these, because over the last, like, sort of 6 weeks when I was doing the Forex ones, I just seem to be winning everything. So I'm glad I'm actually losing some here. It's just going to show you that I'm not actually sort of hiding behind anything. I'm being truthful and honest with things. So good to get some of these losses in, to be fair. Let's have a look. That's a -1. It's just wicked out as well, believe it or not. So let's have a look now, see where we can sort of do the order of play. Again, breaker structure on the bottom. I would tend to stay within the range, and I would look at that as an entry. Come back down. That is the TP, 1 to 2.6. See if we can get this again. As I can see right now the way this moves and the volatility in it. There's going to be at least 3 or 4 trades within these on a 2-hour block. So we'll see what happens with this one. See if we can get this one to play out. They do seem to respect the area as such when it comes to an entry point between that and the SL. Again, just being stopped out on the bottom. Bit of a kicker, but again, this is not live trading on a live account. This is me showing you a process that I do go through. It's me showing you the preference and the thought behind these price action moves. Again, it works very well on the Euro USD. This is the first time, or now the second time of me trying it on the US30. A lot more volatility, so holding structure on the 1 minute is going to be a lot harder than what it would be on a higher time frame, certainly on the US30. Okay, as we move down into this anyway, just to show you something, we've got some imbalance between that and that there, so price may want to come up. It's either going to come up respecting a certain area and then break the structure, or it's going to come up and get our entry and then come down. We'll see what happens. I'm just going to, like I say, I like to be visual on things. Around about 50% is an area. We might get a touch up into that area there, and then it might play down, but we'll see. Again, I like to have fun marking these out just to see, for me personally, to see what happens with price, to see if these will respect these areas and see if it will counteract the same as what the Forex pairs do. But we'll see what happens with that. It's going to be one or two things. It's either going to be an entry to the pip, or it's going to be a bounce off this 50% of the imbalance, or we might even get a crash through the SL here. So we can get rid of some more noise, and we'll see what happens on the next play. Okay, I'm just going to pause the video. Hi guys, I mean, this is still playing out, but there's something I want to bring up, like what I said yesterday with regards to the importance of the path. Okay, do you want to show you the importance of the path? So as you can see on here, and you'll see exactly what I mean, you've got a low, okay, and you've got a higher high. Okay, now what's happened is, as this is played out, that's structurally, that there has been a break of structure. Okay, now this is looking from the 1 minute, and this is why I put the intermediary price, which is the 1 minute, but put the bigger path on, because what happens is overall, and these are the things that we need to come accustomed to and understand. Okay, as price has came out of the bigger picture, the wider move, okay, we would then, on the break of structure, we would then look at the order block, okay, on the lower side. So that there being the order block, when you look at this, okay, break the structure, we're waiting for the field of play to come back into touch. Okay, you can see there, we got an entry right on here, and we got an entry right on there. So if we look at that being where price had peaked, okay, where price had peaked, we got a return down. Possibly could have gotten an entry on here. Okay, that would have been your stop loss there. On a higher time frame aspect, that's what you will be looking for. At the moment, that's still holding structure based upon this here to this here. Something we should have looked at, to be fair. That's a 1 to 4.25. But again, it's a learning process. We are opening our eyes. We've seen that. I'm still going to hold out for this here, to be fair, just to see if this trade here will enter us in and see what we get from it. Feeling that if we do get price comes out and crashes out of this here, okay, breaking this structure, okay, we'll be looking at a new field of play based upon possibly the order block here. We'll wait and see what happens. We'll give it 5-10 minutes, but I do believe there's a good at least 4 or more trades in these sort of sessions, especially on the US30. But again, on the eye, as we look at the higher sort of push, this big range here, the low to the high, retrace to the higher low, okay, and then obviously the push, break a structure, nice flag pattern coming back in, touched beautifully onto the 1 minute order block, and then it's took off again. Structure wise, that would have given a 1 to 3.3, but again, you're always pushing to the higher side for liquidity. It looks as if this is going to come back down. get a re-entry. You could possibly get in on a re-entry on this, but again, we're not doing that. We're looking for this here. This is what we've seen. This is what I called out. Okay, so we'll see what happens with that. We'll give it 5 or 10 minutes. Looks like we've tanked out of the bottom of this lower area. So again, that wasn't a trade. It was just something we were looking at on the preference of the order block here. We're just going to cancel off some noise, readjust, and re-look at everything as well. Okay, so again, I want to get rid of some of these, and I'm going to reassess everything that we've been doing. Let's just get rid of the noise. Get rid of the noise. So this here was the original range. Okay. Get rid of that order block there. Right, so as we've pulled out of the range here, again, I want to sort of concentrate on a short being here. Give it a bit more of a cushion. There's a 1 to 2.5 there. We'll see what we get on that. We'll get rid of this. Liquidity resides on the top. Liquidity resides on the bottom. Okay. Let's just get rid of that. And this. And this. We'll keep these here because this will just identify us on the end with the range. From there, as we've pulled down, retracement, pull back down. That there was the break of structure. Okay, so we've identified our break of structure. And we're now looking for, again, we're just trying to move with a trend. That's all this strategy is based upon. Second day of trying it with the US30, we'll see how it plays out. Again, we are not taking any live trades. We're just trying to get used to price action and how these respect the order blocks based upon the 1 minute area. Okay, from there, let's just take a look. I suppose if from a higher time frame aspect, okay, as we've got our areas, we'll just make this red, just make it the same. Okay, as we've pushed out of this here, because that's where liquidity was residing, there could always be a trade as well, if I'm honest with you, from there down to here. So I suppose if what I'm getting at is, if this price comes up and pushes out of here, I'll be looking for a second entry here. Okay, so we're either going to get, yeah, to either here, or it's going to be B. And again, I'm not perfect. I don't aim to be perfect. The aim for these sessions is just to show you the movement of price on the US30, to see if we can sort of come to respect and understand and tame the best way we can within these 1 minute. Okay, again, we might get a continuation in trend to come down. If we scroll out and look at the bigger picture, we can certainly see that's what's happening at the moment. Okay, so go up to the 15 minute, the overall picture on the 15 minute. It's coming down, that's more certain. Again, we've got liquidity residing on these bottom ends, liquidity here and liquidity on the bottom. And again, this is just in a huge down. It's going down even from the 15 minute. You can see from here. That's where we are. down to 1 minute. And this is where we're concentrating on at the moment. So anything that breaks above these lines here, I suppose, could be a determining factor in where there could be a change in price movement, to be fair. Let's say we're getting entry 1, or if we get pushed through and stopped out. Say we get on an entry 2. Respectively, we've got a 1 to 2, 2.59 and a 1 to 4.05. We'll see which one of these will come into touch. See if we can get a respect on the order blocks. And then we'll take the next steps from there, guys. All right, guys, so as we've had a break of structure here, okay, the rule of thumb, and I'll do this and I'll keep practicing this until we see we get a result from it. We would do the last order block, which is this here. There was a break of structure here. This is simply just a 1-to-1. If I'm honest with you, I'm not happy with this trade at all, to be honest. But again, going on the rules and what we do, I would still need to see if this will play out or if it's going to stop us out, because we're just moving the trend. Okay. However, I'm still going to hold these 2 trades here. We're just going to see what happens with this, to be fair. Again, this is all about a learning process. Liquidity is residing on that part there. Let's say if that swing or trace back hold structure, see what comes to the 1-to-1, or if it's going to crash out of the SL, giving us an entry on these higher sides. Again, this is, like I say, it's a learning process. We're just seeing how the US30 reacts on the 1 minute chart with the preference of the 1 minute scalper. Okay, so we're just going to stay on this live a moment, let it play out, because this is a 1-to-1, and see what you think of what's going on. I'm going to go and make myself my halftime cup of tea. So I'll let price play out there, and we'll see if it hits the SL or goes on the 1-on-1. I wouldn't normally take trades on a 1-on-1 basis, if I'm honest with you, to be fair. Like I say, they are a quicker scalping in and out, but again, I would still want some sort of more reward for the risk end, if that makes sense. But we'll see. The preference is, if there's a break of structure, we revert to wherever the break of structure is. That's the TP area. And the entry is simply just the start of the last or previous order block. So we still got to let this play out. Let's see if it is going to actually give us the 1-to-1 win. If it does, it just means on the parameters of what we're doing on this educational training basis video, it's just going to sort of, for today, this is going to take us back to a break even. Again, what we'll do is, if it does hit the SL, we'll still treat it as a -1. This is more educational than anything else. It's just letting us see the ebb and flow of how this sort of trading indice is going to let us do on the US30. Let's have a look. Again, it's sort of respecting that entry of the order block. Again, I mean, like I say, you can't make this up. You're just seeing the power of that order block within itself. I've got a bit more of a cushion on the top end, as you can see on here. And then we've got the pinpoint here, but you can just see it's hovering around that area of the start of that order block. So again, order blocks are order blocks, doesn't matter what they're on. This looks as if it may go and crash out above this. It's still going to hold its structure. Just to be a bit more visual, we're looking at that there. And we're looking at that there. So at the moment, we're either waiting for that or it's going to do that. There's only one or two things it can do, to be fair. And we'll just wait and see what plays out. And there's not much pippage and movement on that, to be fair, as well. In all honesty, hopefully, if this does stop this out, we'll still, like I say, we'll still mark it down as a -1, but we're going to edge our sort of bets towards this, the swing point of the bigger move on here. But we have technically had that break of structure out of that swing point. We've now got the retracement coming in. Okay, there was a big bit of imbalance on here, which has all been mitigated and met. So it's just understanding what price wants to do at the moment. Hopefully it's going to be a continuation and trend, and then hopefully it will give us maybe that 1% there. From there, I'm still going to hold on to these two here as well, but we'll see if this gives the 1-to-1. Like I say, I don't hide behind anything. I like to document everything the best way I can, and hopefully it gives you guys a better understanding on what I'm working towards, what I'm drawing out, and hopefully you guys can see. Most certainly, the main aim is letting you guys be able to understand and see the swing point areas and where you can mark these out at. And it's all about practice and practice and practice. Okay, so we're going to let this play. It's still playing. I'll keep it on live at the moment because it is going to be a short trade with a bit of luck, and it should either one stop us out or two hit the TP area. I'm just going to go off and make that cup of tea, and then we'll be back in a second.
Oh my gosh, what?
And we're back, guys. Excuse me. Let's have a look. So it's very indecisive at the moment. Half-time cup of tea. Got to believe. And the biscuit of choice. Club. Main club. Let's have a look. See where this price is going to go. I think I'll pause the video here just while I have the cup of tea. We'll be back in a second just to see what's happened with this price again, because I like to show everything what happens with these. We do have a break of structure on here, so the way the thing plays out on this, we do have to put this order block into play. TP here is where the price impulse move went out on the break of structure. Okay, again you can see on here on the top there, 1, that's a 1-to-1. Let's see what happens on this, see if it plays out, if it crashes out of the top end, which I am anticipating it to do, to be fair. we've got 2 further entries on a higher side. Okay, so I'm just going to pause the video and we'll be back in a second. Hi guys, so we're back again. What we've got is we've spiked out here, as you can see. Again, I'm just documenting everything that I do and everything that I find. Just going to get rid of some of the noise. Right, so there we go. Sorry about that, guys. It looks like it was clear enough for me for a second there. Again, I'm going to go back on what I was saying before. This has just spiked out just by a pip or so. Again, we document everything, so that would be a -1 as well. Again, I fall back on 2. I don't trade a percent on every single trade. I am on the demo purposes, just to show you the preference, and it's easier to add the totals up at the end, to be fair. This is all about just looking at structure and everything else at the moment. So we're going to minimize that. And I'm going to hold prevalence with this here and this here. Okay, so just going to mark this out. It looks like US30 is going to make a move to the downside now. And so I might actually change my thought process on this to this. We'll get rid of that. That there. That's the move I want now. Let's get rid of some of the noise. And the reason being for this is we'll follow the trend. We've had a break of structure. Okay. And now TP holds within the liquidity of that move there. We now anticipate move back up into the order block to push back down 1 to 2.05. We'll see what this does, see if it holds again. If we don't get no pullback, if it's continuation of red candles and it pushes through the liquidity here, we just drive down the TP area as well. And again, this is just about being visual. Look at it there, the state of play. And at the end of it all, we can look back on everything that we've done and drawn out, okay? This looks as if it will push out of here. So we've got that there. That's the TP. Looks like we're coming back up now. Again, we have got 20 odd seconds for this candle. If I'm honest with you, on my buys so far yesterday, we took a good trade at the beginning. We got 2% yesterday, but then we got 2 other trades that stopped us out. So it was more or less a break-even sort of session. This one today, we haven't hit the ground running, to be honest. We've hit 2 trades at a loss at like a percent on each one. But we'll see if we can hold structure on here. Again, let's hold the structure bubble. So we've got from there down here. So that's our swing that we're looking at, okay? from the high to the low. That's our swing point at the moment. We are waiting for that return back up into the order block, and again to be visual. And I do urge people to practice these and draw them out themselves. That's the order block there with a bit more of a cushion because we've got liquidity residing on the top side. Okay, we might have a bit of a cushion there. There's a 1 to 2. And again, I keep seeing the word visual. You've got to be visual to understand where things are in the market. So I'm going to pause the video. We'll be back in a moment just to see where we are. This is the new area we're looking at. 1 to 2. This comes in, it just cancels off what we've done today. But again, we are still in a heavy downtrend. Price, if we get the path, okay, continue the path. %. Now, this is going to be interesting, to be fair. This will be interesting. So if we get this here, swing up to the swing, okay, 50% of a retracement, okay, swing on the retracement, 50% is slap bang for a confluence area, which is going to be on the entry, okay. So the 50% of that retracement, this is given, there's the entry there. Now, is it going to hold? Is it going to hold the structure point? Or will it push down for us? Let's see. Let's just stop those out. It's hard. It's hard. This US30 is hard, if I'm honest. Let's see where this is heading. Tracing on there. Now, if we go back, let's take a look. It's not going to let us go right the way back. Even on this here, this order block here, okay, it's pushed through that order block. So this is making a move now. The US30, it's what, just after 2:30. This is when you normally find US30 will make a move, to be fair. So that there, totally blown out the water. Let's get rid of that. Let's get this in. Again. Another hit. Order block. Push right up. So 1 to 4. Break the structure. We've got to mark all these out, guys. And again, this is going to be a good video today because it's just going to be showing you how brutal and volatile the US30 is going to be. So it's not always about being perfect. It's not always about being right. Sometimes you have to go through and do your videos and do your analysis like this and have days like this just to understand just how things can go wrong for you. And then we can look back on these. And I'm sure this would help people just as much as these order blocks being here, holding structure and being correct for you. So as we look further up, okay, we can see, you see this here. As we talk about order blocks, we've got an order block there, okay, from that higher high. It's come in to mitigate on that price. And it just so happens, as this was a downtrend here, we got a change in structure maneuver, okay? As we got that downtrend and the break and the change of structure, we got the flag right the way down. It's come right the way back up to enter from this area. So again, that's pinpoint accuracy just about. So if you look at this, 50%, look at that, bang on the money. Bang on the money, bang on the money. Let's go back one. Get rid of some of the noise. Fire one ready. And we're heading into the last 20 minutes or so. I'm going to pause the video and we're going to see what happens with regards to a final push, okay, down to the downside. So we're hopefully we'll get this maneuver giving us a 1 to 4. Let's see if we can get that 1 to 4. There's the 1 to 4 there, guys. Let's just see. Let's see if we can hit this at the end there. If it does, we've got a -3 there. That would just give us a 1% growth. We'll see what happens. But again, it just shows you from the aspect of where it's been on that uptrend. It's come down. It's come back up to meet that higher end. So it's mitigating the order blocks. It is mitigating the order blocks, but it's finding the correct one, to be honest, okay, because it can basically hit any one of these order blocks, to be honest. So just going to pause the video and we'll be back in a second. Hi guys, we're now back into the final 15 minutes of this session. Still enjoyed the session, albeit we've took a couple of hits, or 3 hits. We can see now as we've come back up to respect where we were earlier from the highs, okay, 50% of the range, okay, of the order block, fantastically mitigated on. It's coming back down. Is it going to come back down to this side of the range to mitigate on here to give us an entry? We've had that massive impulse drive up. We're starting to get the flag back down towards the entry. Again, if this comes out, it's a 1 to 4. And we just need to be mindful of, let's take a look of the high to the low. 50%, it's more or less, in fact, it just went below the 50% of the retracement area. This, it's what we call, you get a premium price, you get a discount price, and then you get the bargain price. So at the moment, this is spiking off what we call the discount price. We are looking for the bargain price, which is on the bottom, okay? So it looks like it's bouncing and rejecting of that. So liquidity at the moment is residing on this area here. That's what we're heading towards, or what we're aiming for now. So that's our liquidity area. We've got again, 2 areas. The 50%, which is that there. That there is, make that yellow. That's our discount price. Okay, that's the discount price. However, we want the bargain price. Okay, that's what we're after. We're after the bargain price. It's coming down to that now. Hopefully it's not going to crash through. We get a bounce and then we'll get a retrace back up. Let's just pan into this a bit more, just so we can see if it does respect. We've now technically got about 15 minutes left of the trade, trading time allowance. What I'll do is I'll pause the video for now. We'll come back in the next 5 minutes or so. And then after that, we'll have our conclusion, our thoughts, and we'll have a rollback on how the trading block or trading session for these 2 hours have gone today. Okay, so I'll be back in the next 5 minutes or so. Right, hi guys, it's now just after 3 o'clock, so we're going to come to our end of day conclusion, what we thought of how the session went, which obviously went against us 3% down. Generally, that wouldn't even be 0.5% or just over 0.5% if I was trading it live. However, on the understanding, on the basis of how I trade, I just wanted to see if I can get used to the price movement. Unfortunately, we've just missed out on an entry on this for to possibly give us a return of just on the 4%. It's heading back up towards the TP area, which all in all, if this had entered and then went to that TP area, it would have been a profitable day. So again, that's the outlook at what I'm looking at this at the moment. Still not down. It's just understanding price movement, looking and picking out your areas of importance, the order blocks, the breaker structure. You need to steer true to the game. And that means whenever there's a breaker structure, you have to do what the strategy foretells you, which is the breaker structure, whether it's on the low side or the high side, you look to the previous order block from that swing point. That would be your entry area, okay? And then your TP is wherever the impulse from the breaker structure leads you to, that would be the TP area. Now, this looks as if it's certainly going to give, or was going to give, that 4%. It's headed towards that, but then it's starting to tank again. So overall, looking at the bigger picture, we determined the trend coming down. There was a big trend and still is a big trend coming down on the US 30. From there, we've got our path, the structure. We spoke about how these order blocks are swing points on the top. It come back to mitigate into that 3/4 of the way into the session. Okay. From there, we started with our